Hey guys, welcome to the Fit Dad Lifestyle Podcast. Today we've got a special guest, Simon Jones. So, Simon, father, veteran of 5 deployments around the world and discharged at the rank of sergeant, and is now a construction manager for the largest privately owned renewable energy company in the world, building large scale solar and wind farms. Welcome to the podcast, brother. Let's get into it and kick off back to the childhood. Let's start in where did you grow up and whereabouts did you go to school?
First of all, mate, thanks for having me. You've had a lot of esteemed guests on the podcast before, so mate, thanks for the opportunity.
No worries, mate. Very welcome.
Mate, so I was born in Gosford, central coast of New South Wales, so God's country. So I'm a mighty Blues supporter, mate. I grew up there. We moved around a bit. My dad's a publican by trade. So we moved around a fair bit, up in Toowoomba, back into Brizzy, and then eventually settled on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, nice one, mate. And what age did you move to the Gold Coast?
I think I was in primary school, so it would have been year 4 or 5. I think we moved from Toowoomba. Dad owned a pub up there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what happened there, but we got out of that, and yeah, we moved to the Gold Coast, which is epic place to grow up. Burleigh Heads. I'm a Burleigh boy.
Yeah, mate. And how Gold Coast right now? It's millions of people. Flashy. It's massive tourist mecca. Was it always like that growing up as well, or have you seen the distinct change, like from childhood to what it is now?
Nah, so when I can remember growing up there and because Dad started running a pub and it was right on the beach there at Burleigh, and we used to be able to shared a room with my 2 brothers, but where the bathroom and toilet was, you used to be able to look out the toilet window and be able to check the surf at Burleigh Heads there. We used to be able to do the surf report from the toilet window. But back then, Burleigh was, it's pretty low key. Wasn't as commercialized as what it is now. You could buy a house for under 100,000. You could, do all that. You could ride your push bike around and not have it stolen. And excuse me, yeah, it's just commercialized now. It's hectic. I remember there was blow ups when you had to pay for parking in Burleigh. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah, mate, 100%. Mate, what age did you join the military? So, backstory for those listening, I was actually in the army at the same time as Simon, up at 2R, and then also down at 8, 9. And, I'm probably jumping ahead, but you're probably one of the youngest sergeants I remember during the time. And I think we're pretty similar age. And, you were already at that rank of, corporal sergeant, when I was sort of 3 years in. So, mate, what age did you join? And, how quickly did you progress, through all the different, courses and subject courses to reach those different ranks?
So I joined the army when I was 17. So I enlisted in Brizzy on the 28th of May 2002. So I quit school. I dropped out. Wasn't a very big fan of school. Discipline, I'd say, at school. But then I went and joined the army. I didn't tell anyone that I enlisted. I was working at McDonald's there at Burleigh Heads, and I was saving up enough money to get the Greyhound bus up to Roma Street to go to the enlistment place. Mum and Dad weren't too impressed when I told them, I was leaving in a couple of weeks, because my older brother was already in the military at that time. So my older brother joined in 97 or 98, but he went to Inifet in 99. So that was my big thing about wanting to join. Just saw my older brother and the mateships that he had, and just what they were doing. And I wasn't good at school. I wasn't going to many places. So I was either just stay in Burleigh and be a surfer or a lifeguard, or get out and do something decent. So yeah, I had my 18th at Kapooka.
Yeah, well, what was, do you remember the magical moments for your 18th? Like what task you were
I
doing?
remember one of the funniest things is I can actually remember everyone singing me happy birthday, but no one knew my name.
Yeah.
So when it got to the bit where they call your name out, everyone just went, happy birthday, and started singing again. It didn't do anything. I think we got told to shut up after that. We were making too much noise. It was a fleeting thing I can remember, but for me, I was just focused on getting through Kapooka, and then I wanted to get to Singleton, because I had a few doubters in my corner. Well, they're not in my corner anymore, but a few people said that I wouldn't make the military. So I was, at that stage, I couldn't give a shit about my 18th. I just wanted to stay focused and get through what I had to get through to not only prove to myself that I could do it, but there was a few other people that I wanted to prove wrong.
Yeah, well, mate, I think I had my it was on the 19th or 20th birthday at the dig-in stage outfield. And I just remember sitting there, like literally on the shovel all day and just having a cold ration pack and just going, this is, I think it was 19, but yeah, whatever it was. And I was like,
Yeah. Do you immediately regret that decision? You're just sitting there
oh,
going,
mate, you just
what
think,
the hell have I
like,
done?
what did all my other mates do for their birthday this year? And they're
Yeah.
all at the pub right now, all doing, Yahooing. And
Excuse
here
me.
I am digging a pit to fight a fake enemy, eating cold rations. Like, it's just,
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that because all the guys, all my mates that are left on the Gold Coast, they went and they did that usual. They moved to London. They worked in London, so they were traveling the world at 18, 19, 20, 21, and I'm at Singleton getting yelled at, freezing your ass off, and then being sent to Townsville. Like I didn't even know where Townsville was on the map. I was looking through the Refidex to try and find Townsville. I'm sitting there. I remember getting up to Townsville, just going, "What the fuck have I done here? Like why?" All my mates are in Europe, and I'm sweating it out in Townsville.
Yeah, then going to the mad cow and realizing there's 4,000 guys there and 20 birds, and you're going, what the fuck is happening?
Getting punched out by cowboys.
Yeah, that's
it. Yeah. Now that was a big like awakening for me. Like private schoolboy on the Gold Coast, lived across the road from Burleigh Heads. My parents they did everything to make sure that my brothers and my sister and I had a good upbringing. Looking back now, I gave them a pretty hard time. I thought I had the rough end of it, but being a father myself now, you just the amount of stuff that they sacrificed to get us to where we are today. At the time, I thought it was shit, but it was, looking back now, it was epic. But then you go from Burleigh and you get off the plane in Townsville and you're just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Where's the beach? Why is it already 37 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning? Type thing. Yeah. It was an eye opener.
Bloody oath. It was, you sort of go down there and you're like, well, I can only swim in these like stinging net areas or at the pool with the other 4,000 people bathing in here.
Remember that they had the vinegar set up in the aid stations?
That's right, yeah.
So you could, if you got stung. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
You didn't have any of that in Burleigh?
No, not at all. You'd have to wait for a cyclone to come through so you could do some body surfing or
that's
chill out in the water.
The water felt like a bath too.
It was disgusting. Mate, 5 deployments, and we'll get into the later ones down the track. But what stage of your military career? Because I know your eldest daughter, she's 19.
Yeah,
correct. So was she born whilst you're still in Townsville and in midst of all those deployments and stuff?
Yeah, so 02 did IETs and was posted straight up to the 2nd Battalion. And I was very fortunate enough to go to Charlie Company. It was 9 Platoon. So that was 02. And then end of 02, we actually went on to the Ready Company Group and we got deployed. Beginning of 03, we won the platoon comp and we were told we were going to Iraq, but then we were the online company group and we got reactive and got sent to the Solomons. We meant to go to do, Sektet in Baghdad. We would have been the first one. Yeah. But that first or the second one, I think it was, either way, but Bravo Company, and we'll get into it a bit later on, but Timmy Applin went across there and he was a platoon sergeant. So that was the first few times I've dealt with Tim. But 03, we got deployed to the Solomons. Come back from that. 04, we went to Hawaii. And then just before we went to Hawaii, my ex-wife, she was my partner at the time. Yeah, she passed on that she was pregnant. And Summer Lee was born 1st of March, 2005.
Yeah, wow. And what age were you then? You was pretty young still?
Summer was 3 months old at my 21st.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Mate, so struggling to, really look after myself, really. And then, this little lady comes along and changes your outlook on everything, really.
Mate, 100%. That's it. Going back to what you said before about all your mates still traveling the world, living up in Amsterdam. Here you are, a couple of deployments under the belt, in the military, living somewhere else, and a kid on the way at 21.
Yeah.
It's like, mate,
I don't do things by halves.
make you grow up very like as quickly as possible.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it, um, yeah, so that was 05, and then um, that was a big year. So 05 was probably only out of all the years I was in the military, I only spent like 2 full years in Australia, or 3 full years.
Yep.
05 was one of them. So we did, summer was born. I did, would I do sub one for corporal then? Finished that, and I got promoted pretty quick to Lance Jack because I was in heavy weapons at the time. So I did, basic heavy weapons course and all that kind of stuff. And for some reason I just had a real knack for machine guns, stuff like that. I don't know why. I grew up in Burleigh, for God's sake. I didn't know the front end of a rifle to the back end of one until I joined the army. And I don't know, it's just like Rain Man. I just had this knack. And so I was in heavy weapons platoon. I got promoted to Lance Jack, and I was sent back to 8 Platoon Charlie Company. And then in 06, we got reacted to Timor. So straight back over there. And just before we deployed, my section commander got taken off the trip. Can't really remember why. I think he might have been going on a promotion course as well. So I stepped up into the full track spot, and then one of the boys stepped up into the Lance Jack job. So I think that's why I sort of got promoted from Lance Jack to full track fairly quickly. Is because for 6 or 7 months I was on deployment, and I come back and I did sub 2 for corporal.
Yep.
Of course, I got the one in fucking Tully. God, far out. That was the pain in the ass. But I think that's why that jump was so quick. Was because I did half of that trip I was on deployment.
Yeah, jeez. Mate, how did
You're just freezing a bit there, mate.
Sorry, mate. Is it all good?
Yeah, back now.
Yeah, mate, how did you manage, service and the pressures of dad? Like becoming a father and not knowing what the fuck's going on in the first place, is tough enough. Throw, 21-year-old with multiple deployments, multiple responsibilities, 10 guys under you that are probably, 10 years older than you. Yeah. And that's, mate, how did you manage to put that afloat? Did you have to lean on other guys in the unit who may have been dads already? And, and how did that all work with the demands of, we all know battalion life, and especially all the young guys, it's literally party 4 nights a week, train in the morning, Yahoo, and it's just like a footy club. But mate, your life, looking in from the outside, would have been, completely different from the get-go.
Yeah, it was hectic. And looking back on it now, I see that, I was quite selfish, because the army was, to me, was everything, and everything else came second for that. I just wanted trips. I just wanted that experience. I wanted to be tested. I loved being on operations. I loved that environment, and I loved, commanding Australian troops on operations. There's not too many greater things you can do in life. But I think looking back on it, and as much as, I don't see eye to eye with my ex-wife, it was none of that could have happened unless she was there. Like none of it. She held down the fort at home. She not only did she have a full-time job, she was raising a child, and then she had me to deal with as well. Coming back from deployment, you know what I'm like. I can be a bit of a pest at times. Well, I'm a massive pest, and I enjoy a good time. And mate, I was selfish. I just did what I wanted, trained hard, fought hard. All I wanted to do was be with the boys. And it wasn't until probably the end of my second Timor trip where it finally just snapped into place, and just I realized I was being an asshole, and it wasn't all about me. So that was it was a fair shake up, and it actually took my partner at the time, when I went to Timor the second trip, she just said, I'm not staying in Townsville. I can't be up here with no support. Because we moved up there as teenagers.
Yep.
And all her family's from the Gold Coast as well. And it took me to be pretty much losing them to then. That's when I got back from Timor. I got the posting to Brisbane so I could be closer. So that's when I started to realise that there was a lot more to life than just chasing trips and being with the boys. As much as I loved it, being a dad it still is the greatest honour of my life. I'm not too much of a father anymore. She's 19 and does what she wants. But yeah, if it wasn't for, my ex-wife being back at home, that it wouldn't have happened. And I've said it numerous times and I'll say it again. I had it easy. I was surrounded by great guys. Everyone had my back. I'd just eat, sleep, fight, gym, repeat. Whereas my partner back at home, she was having to deal with a toddler. Everything comes with that. Having a partner overseas, you know what it's like when you see shit on the news, right? Everyone just holds their breath and goes, "Oh, who the bloody hell is it?" You know what that's like, and I could only imagine how hard that'd be. That'd just be, yeah, I can't even imagine it.
Yeah, mate. And did you find that when you did move down to Brisbane and you had a bit more family time and out of the bubble of, Townsville, that, your journey as a dad and, being there a lot more for them rather than, yourself and being selfish at work and, changed quite a bit and you actually got to have that family, dynamic that maybe you didn't have previously?
Yeah, mate, 100%. It changed me dramatically, matured me. I was more focused on the army became second, and everything was about summer. I became like her age manager at Nippers. I'm a North Burleigh boy, and I wanted her to do Nippers. Nippers, swimming, just sport, just living that Gold Coast lifestyle, and I wanted her to have the same thing that I got. And there was for 2009, there was that real balance because I'd left 2RAR and I joined 8-9, and 8-9 was being re-raised at the time. And I was very fortunate enough. The commanding officer was Simon Stewart, who's now Chief of Army, and he's ex-2RAR as well. So I think Bravo and support company OCs, and so we had a relationship already. And I said at the start, and it's like my maturity, I felt, went through the roof because I was able to walk in and say to people, "No, guys, I'm not doing this exercise. I'm not doing it. I've been away for nearly on 3 years now. I'm staying home. I'll come in and I'll help you train the IETs, but I am dead set doing 8 till 4. But because it's not worth, I want to be home every weekend for my daughter. I want to take her to Nippers. I want to take her surfing, swimming lessons. She was doing everything touch. She was school by this stage as well, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, like it just changed my whole priorities on everything, really. But then I also think that helped my military career as well. Like I calmed down a lot. You probably remember what I was like at 2. I wasn't, exactly the easiest person to get along with. I've still got a temper now, but my temper could fly off the handle. And you ask a lot of guys that, and it's a regret I have now that there's some people that only remember me for yelling and being pretty strict. But when you've got 9 other people's lives in your hand, sometimes it's the only way to be. But it calmed me down a lot. Summer taught me patience, respect. I think I learned more from being her under 8 age manager at Nippers, just being like disciplined, patient, talking to people, not yelling or, any of that kind of stuff. That taught me more about everything, life in general, than what it did actually being on my first 3 trips. Right. It calmed me down a lot. And I actually felt that helped my military career a lot. Which then at the end of 09, I was panelled for sub 2 for sergeant, and that then started the next few years of just hectic.
Yeah, mate. No, I totally get it. Like up in Townsville, and I remember up in Townsville, we had the same group of mates and stuff like that. It was just one of the boys and yahooing and partying, and mate, get down to Brisbane, and I come down at the start of 09 as well to 8-9, and mate, it was just all of a sudden this switch. Like you were a different person. You were seen as this senior digger, leader of the battalion, because the battalion was so young and there was only so many different officers or people in those positions. I think it sort of forced your hand to take a very serious leadership model, and because you had these 100 people that were essentially a year or 2 into their army career, looking at you for guidance. And
and that taught me a lot as well, mate. Like about like these guys were the future of the battalion, and I was very fortunate to be asked to go down and re-raise the battalion, because I was getting out. Like I just had enough. Like I was, I'd spent 2 years at home by that stage. I'd been in for a little bit, but I was fortunate enough, and these guys that were coming through were like the next, they were the next custodians of that Anzac spirit. And if I was just going to be an arsehole to them and treat them like shit, which I've done to other people, and when I get to the pearly gates, I'll have to answer for all that. But I think just being around Summer so much more, and she taught me patience, humility, all that kind of stuff. And then I think that sort of flowed on to then how I became a commander as well, or how I wanted to be seen and how I wanted to treat people, because I think that sort of dawned on me that end of 09 going forward, that this was going to be my legacy. Like how did I want to be remembered? I didn't want to go out being, oh, there's that bloke that just fucking yelled and carried on at people all the time. Like I wanted to be remembered as, he actually did some good. He left the uniform better than what he put it on, type thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think if I didn't get that, 11 months of 2009 at home, no, I don't think I would have lasted too much longer after that, to be honest with you.
Mate, how did you, so you've had this crazy period up in Townsville, you've come down to Brisbane, had a bit more family time and being able to be there and be a present dad, and then go into arguably the most crazy couple of years, kinetic operations with SOTG over in, Afghanistan. How did your mindset, I guess, go into that period of life, knowing what you've been through and what you've now become accustomed to then having to switch back into work mode and going, shit, I have to go all back in on the army and not play, present dad as much anymore?
It was funny. I was on sub 1 for sergeant. I was at Canungra, and the MTF 1 was with 6 RAR, and they were going into 2010, and I was a senior corporal, but I hadn't done the snakes courses yet, the sergeant's courses. So the only spots available at 6 RAR on the omelettes were for sergeants or woes. So I was in that tough position where 6 RAR had epic full tracks. Like you know a lot of the same. We operate in the same circles. Phenomenal blokes. Like they taught me a lot about being a section commander. And these guys had done multiple trips as well. So there was no need for me. Right. So I was just in limbo. Like I wasn't getting picked up for that trip. It was starting to filter that in 2010 that 8-9 RAR was going to get Timor. They were going to go back to East Timor. And I went to Colonel Stewart and I just said, listen, I've done Timor. Like I've been a section commander in operations. I've done that. I'm more than happy to stay at home. I'd really love to finish. I'd like to do sub 1 for sergeant in 09, and I would have loved to have done sub 2 for sergeant in 2010, and then be ready to go. Because I had a senior role in heavy weapons platoon. I was the only DMO operator in the battalion at the time, so I had a very senior role. And I got to do, like, I got treated differently. Like I got to sort of come and go from exercises because DMO, and I got to do my training and all that. But then they let me go back for weekends. But it was on sub 1 for sergeant. I got pulled into the SSM's office, and he goes, "Your CO and RSM are on the phone. They want to talk to you." Straight away, I've just gone 50 cent, 5 cent. I was like, because I think we were at the Boozer at Nunga's there the night before, so no doubt I was ripping into it. So I've just straight away just gone, what the hell have I done wrong? And I was starting to think, righto, where have I been? What have I done? And it wasn't me. Like I thought it wasn't me. So I'm like, I'm ringing the boys. What did you do last night? Anyone get arrested? All this. And then I got on the phone and Colonel Stewart said, when can you be back in the battalion? And I went, I'm on course. So, and he goes, wasn't really a question. When can you be back? And I went, I can leave now. And he goes, right, I'll clear it with the SSM. You'd come straight back to my office. Me and the RSM were waiting. So
Canungra was the only information you got, was it?
That was it, because it was a non-unsecured line, right? So we didn't have, I didn't have the BlackBerry or anything by then. So I was like, that whole drive back from Canungra to Brizzy, mate, I was like Steady Eddie at the urinal, mate. I would have been shaking like this, doing the funky Comodino. And I got into the CO's office and the RSM was there, and he goes, we've just got a warning order from SOCOM Australia. They need 12 guys to come from the battalion to be their heavy mobility commander. I was like, yeah, okay. He goes, we're looking for a sergeant. I was like, yeah, okay. Like, do you want me to help someone? Do you want me to train someone up? And he goes, like, the CEO said it a couple of times, we're going to promote you. And I'm straight over my head. Yep. I was like, yeah, like, so just bring whoever you bring it in, just bring him in. I'll get him up to speed. And the RSM tapped me on the shoulder and he goes, oh, you dickhead. He means you. And I was like, oh, yeah, sweet. Not a drama. And he goes, so we're going to promote you and would like you to take the battalion's detachment. Are you up for it? And I went, as long as I get a big say in who comes.
Yep.
Like, I want to pick a team. I want some senior guys, because there's some guys that come up from 6RAR, some diggers, Johnny Buckholtz, Alistair North, they'd done a few trips. Luke Askew was on board by then as well, Askew from 2RAR,
yep.
Senior guy. He shot that bloke in Timor that catapulted my career into turmoil for a couple of days, but then we got cleared. So I wanted these guys around me. And then from there, we picked the team. And from there, I did November, finished up in December on sub 1 for sergeant, finished the course and got promoted. My mum came up to the battalion and they promoted me straight to sergeant. I'd been a full track by then for, 5 years or so, 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. Mum got to come up and promote me. And then pretty much when we got back from leave in January, we were op controlled to SOCOM Australia. And that was it. And it was, fuck, mate, that's when my life, just went. I thought, like, I've said it heaps of times, I thought my shit didn't stink. I was a full track. I've been in 2RAR, been in 8-9 now. As you said, I had a pretty senior role. I had people looking up to me. I was training people. I was doing, I was loving my time in the military. And then, we'd been in a couple of little scraps in Timor. So I thought, fuck yeah, my shit doesn't stink. How good am I? I'm the section commander. And then first trip outside the wire, I'd been in Afghan probably 4 days. First trip outside the wire, rocketed, IED'd. And I remember sitting there just going, holy fuck, what have I got myself into? And someone goes, how can you explain it? And I was like, I explained it that Sunday afternoon I was playing Burleigh Bears reserve grade, right? Well, not even that, probably playing 6th division in Burleigh, rugby league. And Mal Meningi rings you Wednesday morning and says, you start in State of Origin at Suncorp. Suit up, like you're playing. That's the job, right? At the level of professionalism, just want to get after everything that the SOTG guys had, mate. I was behind the 8 ball. I was probably 2 years behind the 8 ball to got like what guys same rank level, what they'd done. They'd been on 6th trip to Afghan by now, right? And not fucking around. It's got some serious shit under their belts. And I remember just sitting there just going, what have I got myself into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, and what did you have to do much preparation, and did you get embedded into, the SOCOM teams prior to going over, like with pre-deployment training and stuff like that? Like, did you just have to get to a base level of, training and skill set before you deployed?
Yeah, pretty much. So we got, when we got the warning order and we got the team together, we were actually going to head to Coltana to do the MRE there with the main body. That's where, because we're going to be attached to 2 Commando, so Alpha Company, 2 Commando, and they were already down in Coltana doing their MRE, and that's when, unfortunately, Mason Edwards was killed, and the MRE sort of come to a screaming halt. So we didn't end up going down for that, but we remained in the battalion, and they just pretty much gave us a list. You need to be qualified in all these weapon systems. You need to do all this. Here's our SOPs, pretty much. This is what we're thinking about running. This is how we want to move vehicles. Have a look over it. Come back to us and brief us on what's going to happen, because the trips leading up to that were all on their LRPVs or they were in helicopters, because the IED threat was through the roof. Because there was such a lot of countries going at all the air assets, they were finding it hard to get the assets. So that's why they switched to the Bushmasters, and some people had used them. They mainly used them as like the motherships and the resupply ones, but they hadn't used them like tactically a bit. So we up-armed them. We put like automatic grenade launchers on them, 50 cals. I ran dual 58s on my bushy top, things like that. Like, 84s hanging off everywhere. There was just shit going on everywhere. So they had a list of stuff that we had to meet, and I pretty much ran that training. We were OpCon to SOCOM, and then so they gave us the funding, and then I ran all the exercises, did whatever, And if they could, they'd send one of their senior team commanders up, and he would like assess us, pretty much, use of a better word. And then it got to Feb, and we're going back and forward. I flew down to Commando and met the CEO of SOTG and the OC of Force Element Bravo, which was 2 Commando guys. And then the decision was made that we'd go to Wide Bay and they'd fly the whole company up. We'd take all the bushies up and we'd do a shakeout exercise. So that's when got the whole company together, was in that Feb, because then we deployed in the March, I think it was. But the beauty about Alpha Company was when I went down there, Tim Applin was there, Dave Pollard, Cam Haynes. There was a lot of X2 guys there. So when I got down there, it was sort of like when Tim Applin was a platoon sergeant at 2RR. Cam Haynes we did the Solomon Islands together. He was in 7 Platoon though, and he was a senior corporal. He was on the verge of promotion to sergeant when he went to 2 Commando. So I knew those guys. So we had a bit of a foot in the door, because it's a very close-knit community. They don't let people in. You've really got to prove your worth. Yep. And so be it. You know, these guys have done 4 or 5 trips to Afghan. They've been in the thick of it. They just don't want any mug turning up. But once they also realised that we were from the regiment, you know, they didn't go easy on us. You had to meet the standard, but we were welcomed into a lot more stuff.
Yeah. And were you, like, when you were over on operations, you know, with these guys, were you sort of, you know, seen as the infantry dudes over here and just go do your own thing? Or once you're over there, it's 100% embedded, like whatever we're doing, you guys are doing? And
yeah, they 100%, they embedded us from the moment we got we met them all at Wide Bay. The boys were split up into the teams, and you were taken. The boys were always, it was a bit hard at the start, you know, because they were like, oh, who's this bloke? Who's this? Because there's also some Force Element Alpha, which is the SASR guys. They were supplemented by guys from 1 Armoured. Yep. So there was previous trips, they'd got guys from 1 Armoured, like pretty much the Pogue units that weren't getting any trips. They were whinging and carrying on a fair bit. So they took that, and they copped a fucking hard time because they weren't seen as a combat corps. You know, and a lot of the guys that are in 2 Commando or SSR have come from a battalion. So they know what it's like, and they also saw it as like a recruiting drive. And the first few weeks, first month were hard, but once they sort of once you got involved, and I just said to the boys, I said, we've just got to soak this up. I said, this opportunity might never come again. We get to work with the greatest special forces units on the face of the fucking earth. Like, we're going to get to do our job. You know, we're going to go out, we're going to be at the pointy end of the sword with these guys. If they are teaching something, talking, I said, we're listening. Let's just jump in. And I think I only ever had to use, the only time I ever wore a rank slide on my 2 Afghan trips was rank ceremonies. And I only ever had to say to someone once about being careful about who he spoke to and how he spoke to them. And that wasn't that was to my second trip. There was this cocky little arrogant prick, you know, direct entry, never spent time in a battalion. And he got a bit lippy one day, and I just sort of just reminded him gently. But that whole first trip, never had to say anything, never had to do anything. It was also, they were very respectful as well. They knew I was there to do a job. So if I was coming around, I was doing stuff to the cars and said, fellas, we need to do this. They were like, yep, not a drama. Let's do it. Yeah. You know, you guys operate in the cars all the time. You just tell us what to do. Or if we went to them and said, we need a work party, help with the cars, they'd like, sweet, come down. And they'd give you a hand. So, you know, the OC, or the captain and the Bravo, so the platoon sergeant for, I was with Oscar Platoon, were phenomenal. They were just really good guys, taught me a lot. You know, yeah, and if it wasn't for that leadership, it would have been a lot difficult, but mate, at the time of my life, absolute time of my life.
Yeah. And did you come back from that trip wanting to put the paperwork in and go try out and go down there full time, or?
Yeah, 100%, mate, 100%. Like, it's infectious. Yeah, it is infectious. It's like, how big is your old fella competition?
Yeah.
Like, if you sit there and go, I can do 200 push-ups, I'll go, I can do 201. And it's like this competitive environment. Like, you're on the range and it's nothing mediocre. It's like one of my guys couldn't draw his 9mm from his holster properly. Like, he wasn't doing the technique. So they took his 9mm off him and gave him a Windex bottle. And they said, you will practice using the Windex bottle before we let you back on the range because you're not up to our standard. Oh, and we pasted him. He's in the lines of the night time with his Windex bottle, up like this, and we're just pasting him. But their standards were so high, and you just wanted to match them, not to fucking suck up or anything. It's like because it was infectious, and my whole outlook on how to deliver orders, how to speak to people, how to, for the use of a better term, manipulate people. You needed to manipulate some people from the regular army or partnering force to get what you wanted. You had to make it sound like it was their plan to get what you wanted. These guys taught you all that, and just that level of professionalism, mate. I wouldn't have the job I have right now unless if I didn't do those 2 trips.
Yeah,
phenomenal,
mate. And how did obviously your child's a lot older, by that stage. You're back living in Brisbane. What was home life like in between those shorter trips with, SOTG compared to what it was previously, up in Townsville?
So the first, rotation 12 that I did, I was there for 6 months. My 2 Afghan trips were the hardest because Summer was at an age where she knew what was going on. Yep. She wasn't around for the Solomons trip. So 06, when I went to Timor, she was young. Now, I think I left home when she was 3 months old, and she walked up to me when I got off the plane, lipping off, walking, full of sass and all that. And but that first Afghan trip, it was hard. That was the hardest. You know what it's like leaving. You've done deployment yourself. You know what it's like. But leaving her when she knew what was going on was fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, what happened across that 2010 trip, so much shit happened. And I can only imagine what it would have been like back at home, how hard that would have been. And then the second trip, my wife at the time, she just said, we can't do this anymore. Because I was still chasing it though. You know what it's like. It's that adrenaline rush that you'll never find anywhere in the world. You'll never find doing anything. I don't think there could be a drug that would give you that much of a high when you're surrounded by the pinnacle of special forces soldiering and doing your job. So in 2011, I did sub 2 for sergeant and all that, and got officially promoted. And she just said, I can't do it. We can't do another trip. I can't do it. Summer's old enough. She watches the news now, she was at school, so her friends talk about stuff, starting to get phones and social media and all that. So when the battalion, so 8-9 got the battalion to do MTF in 2012, I actually said, I went to him and said, I'm done. I've done my bit. I've been very fortunate. I said, and I actually asked for a posting. I wanted to go to Singleton because I did a couple of guest appearances down there to instruct on heavy weapons courses and all that kind of stuff. So I said, I'd like to get posted. Give me a posting to Singleton and then I'll go anywhere and I'll sign again. They just said, no, we want you to stay in the battalion. And then a warning order came out to support SOTG again. And they rung me first. And I sort of initially said no, but then I remember driving home just thinking, if the boys go and something happens to them, but you know what war's like. When your number's up, your number's up. There's nothing you can do about it. But I always felt that, the guys that I'd done all these trips with and spent all these years with, if they were going overseas, I wanted to be there, and I went home. I remember going home that night and I said to my wife at the time, I just said, the boys are going and I need to go with them. And, that went down like a lead balloon. I think I slept on the couch for a little bit after that, but, I don't regret that decision because I got to be there and I got to influence some things that were happening on the ground. And, there were a couple of my guys got injured on that first trip and I just wouldn't have been able to live with myself if something had happened. I was resounded the fact if something happened to me, then that was it. When your time's up, your time's up. But I would never be able to live with myself if something happened to those guys and I at least wasn't there to help them in their final bits or change the decision, to go. Like I've said it a heap of times that, I think I was 30 odd when I was in my late 20s, early 30s when I did my Afghan trips. And a few people said to me, they said, oh, you were always cranky and all that. I said, wasn't so. I said, I probably didn't deal with things properly. I said, but do you know the pressure, what it's like to take young guys overseas? And if you decide to go left and they hit an ID and something happens to them, I said, do you know the fucking pressure that puts on someone? Like, it ages you. Like, it stresses you out. Like, it won't, and I sit back now. Some nights I don't sleep and I think, fuck, could I have done anything better? Could I have done anything differently? On that first trip when a couple of boys got injured, I was like, fuck, what could I have done? And I said to a couple of people, I said, when you've got that pressure on you, or when you've got mothers at the airport to say, if anything happens to my son, I'll hold you responsible. And you're 29 yourself. Yeah. I'm still learning the ropes. There's a lot of pressure, and I probably didn't deal with it all that well, and I took it out on some people. But I've said, unless you're in that position and the pressures that come along with command, I said, you need to give a bloke a bit of a break.
Yeah, definitely, mate. What's how long after that second Afghan trip did you discharge?
So I did 2012. I was there for 7 months in that 2012 trip. Come back. I took a fair bit of time off because I had to leave and long service and all that was up by then.
Yep.
I took a break. I don't think I officially got out till 2014. I did a lot of stuff 2013. I knew I was on my way out. I was busted. I was in a world of hurt. I knew things weren't going well. And when I went, I knew shit was going to go pear-shaped when I got called back in from break to go and play enemy on some shitty exercise in Coltana. I said, guys, I've been away for 7 months. I've been at home for a month. Like, I can't do it. And this particular captain said, you will do it. And I said, say it again. I'll lean across the desk and I'll flog you. Like, I'm not going, mate. You put me in jail before you send me there. Right. And so we got separated, but I didn't go on that. And then when I went to the CO, Khalil Fegan, I said, listen, I'm buggered. Like, I'm hurting. Like, I've done 5 trips now. Like, my hearing was going, my back, you know what it's like. Everything's starting to crumble. And I couldn't do that this summer again. And then they said to him, no, we can't let you leave the battalion because the battalion's about to get a warning order to go to Iraq. Not that I would have got it. I'm not saying that I would have been picked up on it. But I just looked at him and I said, I can't do it. Like, I'm fucked. Like, I think that second trip mentally fried me.
Yeah.
Like, because I think that the weight of all that decision making and pressure to not get anyone hurt or not let anything happen to people it just took it out of me. Like, I was fried. Like, I was under 80 kilos. Like, I blame my hair loss on that, not my dad. But and I just said to them, I said, I can't do it. And they said, no, you'll do what the battalion needs. And I was like, I've given 2 battalions everything. Like, and it was only a few more years later that I gave them marriage for it. All that kind of, I just said, I can't do it, guys. I'm asking for a posting to training command. Like, I said, my whole family's willing to move. I said, send me to Singleton. I said, let me get a couple of years in Singo. So do some courses, come back. I said, I'll go to the depot company or I'll go to the School of Cool. Let me do this. I said, I want to teach. Like, I really love that. I actually loved being an instructor. And the answer to come back was, no, you'll do what the battalion needs you to do, and we need you to stay. And I was just like, I can't do it. Like, I'm fried.
Yeah.
And Khalil Fegan was an absolute arsehole. And yeah, he just said, no. I said, well, I'll get out. And he goes, no, you won't. I said, you know what I'm like? I'm just a stubborn prick. And I said, righto, you're not going to tell me, mate.
Paperwork on your desk tomorrow morning.
Yeah, mate. And that's pretty much what it was. And that's like, I let the emotions get a better of me then, because I miss the military every day. Like, I didn't want to get out. Like, I wanted to be like an RSM. I wanted to be RSM too. Like, I wanted to go back, and I wanted to do that. Would have given me every rank level.
Yep.
At 2RL. Like, that's what I wanted to achieve. Because up until that point, I'd done every rank on operations, private through to sergeant. I'd done that, right? And I got to serve with the pinnacle special forces units in the world, right? I got to look behind the curtain, right? And like, that was my goal. And then to have that taken away by an arrogant prick who couldn't lead horses to water. And I let the emotions get a better of me then, and then I cracked the shits. I took my long service. I said, cash it out. You know what it's like with tax. You just lose a heap of it.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was just stopped and thought, and listened to a couple of, mates, Huggo, Esky, Cody Dennis, those senior guys that are around me that we'd done a couple of trips, Northie, I just thought I knew better, and I was like, I'll fucking prove these guys wrong. And it didn't work. Like, then I spiraled out of that. That year after I got out, I was just dirty, bitter, cut ties with, the military when I probably shouldn't have, when, I really should have been given back, because the army gave me so much. Like, it taught me how to be a man, taught me, how to be a father, lead soldiers and operations. And I just cracked the shits, mate. I carried on like a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Mate, how did you handle your transition into the civilian world, from the military, joining at such a young age and, spending the next decade, 13, 14 years in that service? Like, how did you manage to go back to a world that I guess you just didn't even understand or know?
And that's, mate, to be honest, I struggled. I lost or would I look back now? Like, I see it as, I remember I loved when I'd come back on Chrissy break back to the Gold Coast, or, I'd go out to dinner with my dad and that, and my parents would introduce me. This is my son. He's in the army. I love that. Like, that was my identity. That's what I was good at. And I was proud of that. And then get out of the army and, like, what do you do? Nothing. Like, I didn't finish year 10. I'm not overly smart. I'm not a very book smart person. I'm very hands-on. Mate, I was lost. I struggled. Drank too much, carried on like a fucking dickhead. Didn't all that. We spoke earlier about 0, 8, 9, and 10. All those, and even into 11. All those bounds are made to be a better father. I felt that I lost a lot of it in that year after I got out, because I felt like I had no drive, I had no ambition. I lost my personality. Like, for me, being in the army was everything. I loved saying I'm in the army. When my daughter would say, no, he's in the army, my dad did this. Like, I was so proud, right? That was everything to me. And yeah, I just felt like it was gone. So I had nothing. I didn't know where to go. I had no direction. I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? Like, and that just, it ate away at me. Like, I didn't handle that very well. And it took, I don't think if I had the mates around me that I had, like Cody, Northie, that, and even through, John Clark as well. I was, when he became an officer, I was his first platoon sergeant. He's still a man that anytime I need anything, I pick up the phone and that man helps me, whether it be now civilian life, being the father, or anything. Like, if it wasn't for that man, Matt Whitwell as well. So he's still currently in the military. He was my first platoon commander in heavy weapons. I got to ring those guys, and if it wasn't for them pulling, and Mick Kruger as well, Freddie, Joe MacGyver, RSM of 2 and that, Huggo, Jarvo, all those guys, mate. Like, if I didn't have those guys, I think things would have gone. I don't think I'd be here talking to you, to be honest with you. Like, I spiraled pretty hard. And also, at the time, my wife, she was a pretty strong, resilient woman. But yeah, it took a bit for me to get back on track.
Yeah, mate. It's one of those things, isn't it? And especially coming from where you're coming from, you've literally climbed the ranks to be at this well-respected, leadership level, and then you leave and you're back down, at the same level as 18, 19-year-olds trying to find your way in a world that you don't even know what that next move is, because nothing's translatable to what you've done for the last 10 years. And
yeah, 100%, mate. And I thought, and I was that cocky and arrogant, for the use of better words, is that I thought the world owed me something.
Yeah.
Right? Because, like, look at me, I've been to Afghan, I've done this, I've done that. It's fucking nothing. The regular Joe Blow in the street, they don't give a shit. They're dead set, they don't care. And it's not, well, it could be ignorance, but they don't know what they don't know. Like, the government didn't tell our story. That's why I love doing these things as well, because there's a story to be told and we need to tell it. they didn't know. Like, people would look at my resume and they'd be like, so did you go to uni? Like, when did you finish year 12? I'm like, oh, I didn't. They're like, so what have you done? What's this 15-year gap in your CV? I couldn't get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And it wasn't until I, like, now I believe that the world doesn't owe me anything. I owe the military everything. Because it taught me everything. It taught me how to be a man, a father, a mate, a better brother. Hopefully one day, I can be a husband again. But I owe the military. I owe them. I'm fortunate enough to be a custodian in the Anzac Spirit. And it was fucking hard.
Yeah. It's it's one of those things, and a lot of the boys, just trying to find that identity and trying to find that purpose again, post military, because it's and I've always referred to, and the reason I joined in the first place was I grew up playing footy. I wanted to do was play professional sport, and the military was the next thing that felt like, that footy team. You were just with 20 guys, 30 guys every day, training, fighting, partying,
Yep.
and you have that for, your whole childhood through sport, and then the next, 6-7 years through the military. And then all of a sudden it all stops and you're just like, what the fuck do I do now? Like, I'm on my own. I've got no skill set. I've got no university course. I've got nothing. I've got to figure something out very fucking quickly, or I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah. And you've got like a family at home too.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like with the cost of living and that these days. And, like, this goes to show how, like, ignorant I was as well. When I got out of the military, I had to go get my license renewed. And the lady goes, oh, have you got some ID? And I said, oh, I got my birth certificate here. She goes, I'll show us your Medicare card. I was like, what's a Medicare card? And she goes, don't be smart. Show me a Medicare card. And I'm like, I actually don't even know what a Medicare card is. Because when I joined the army, I was 17. So I was on mum and dad's.
Yep.
So before that, if I was ever sick, dad didn't clip me around the ear off for being sook, and we actually a few times that we went to hospital, I just thought, this is what happened. But I didn't know mum and dad showed the Medicare card.
Yeah.
Well, they paid. I had to go and get a Medicare card. I had no idea what it was. Right. So that's how, like, I didn't know what Panadol cost, because you just go to the RAP.
Yeah, everything was free, wasn't it?
I got a headache, here's some Voltaren.
Yeah.
Put some Benadine in it, something or other. But I had a lot of growing up to do as well. And I honestly thought that, this should all be done for me. I shouldn't have to do any of this. Look what I've done, all this. But it was just a rude awakening that, no, the country and the world doesn't owe you anything. Like, I chose to do that, and I should be, I'm the lucky one, right? I got to go and do those things that I did, and I rode the coattails of the greatest men of our generation. Like, I got to stand on a battlefield with Tim Applin. Right. Wow. And now I don't even know what a fucking Medicare card is. It's hard.
Yeah, fucking knows. Mate, what were the first couple of jobs post military that you got into?
So I did funny that. I went and did I jumped on the private security gig. I went to the embassy in Kabul, as you've got a lot of mates who went and did that. Did that for a little bit. But once again, it was just it was way too much. It was the strain on home life it was too much. So then I come back and I did the stay-at-home dad thing for about a year. So my ex-wife could, finally get a crack at her career. And then I was still in touch with Cody Dennis. Cody, like my best mate. And he rung and said, listen, I've got a spare ticket for the Cricketers Club Lounge at the Gabba. I'm going up to celebrate. I just got a job. And we're going out. Would you like to come? And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't know. He goes, come on. And I hadn't been out in ages. So I said, fuck it, I'm going up. And he got a job as a safety advisor on a solar farm. And there was this older guy there. And, we partied. We went out till like fucking, 3 a.m, whatever. Standard Simon. Doesn't know when to say stop. But it was a couple of days later, Cody rings me and goes, do you remember John from the other night? I said, oh, yeah. And he goes, he wants to ring and have a chat. can I give him your number? I was like, oh, what have I done?
What have I done
Did I
this
take
time?
my pants off? Did I do something silly to put my nuts in his drink or something or other? Okay, he's like, no, I don't think you did anything. Anyway, John rings me and he goes, oh, mate, you want to come up to Brizzy to have brekkie? I'd like to. I said, I cut him off and said, listen, if I've done something wrong, I'm not driving to Brisbane to apologise. I said, I'll just say sorry to you now. And he goes, no, you dickhead, I want to offer you a job. I was like, oh, right, fuck. I mustn't have been that bad. So I went up there and we had brekkie and he goes, I'm the construction manager for a solar farm. We're building a commercial size solar farm. I want you to come on and be the piling supervisor. And I said, what the hell is a piling supervisor? And he goes, fucked if I know, but we'll figure it out together. And I was like, righto, can I bring some mates? And he goes, yeah, who do you want to bring? And I said, I want Chris Munro and Bo Allen. And because Bo was coming back off the embassy gig and all that, and he was looking for work. And I got introduced to Chris Munro. He's up your neck of the woods. He's ex-cab boy. And John's like, yeah, fuck it. Just bring him along. And then that started the job I'm in now. So a piling supervisor is, so solar panels go on big steel I-beams and they get direct driven into the ground. I was in charge of that, just that job, organising, where the posts needed to be, where the crews needed to be, getting them home, getting accommodation, all that kind of stuff. And then from there, I think that's just where my natural knack for organising things and that leadership role sort of just come through from the military. And then from there, I picked up the mechanical supervisor and then I went to site manager. And then the company I was working with went bust, but I got picked up by other ones and I sort of moved around until I'm with the company I'm with now. And we do wind and solar now. And mate, once again, a bloke by the name of Anthony Bursey, he was the head of construction at the time. He took a chance on me. Right? There's this big gap in my CV. Didn't finish year 10. I'm not a mechanical engineer, civil engineer. And he took a chance on me about 4 years ago. And I haven't looked back. He showed some faith in me. And I think that's what I needed. And now, I know renewable energy is a bit of a spicy subject. You're probably going to get some hate from interviewing me, but bugger them. I found my identity again. I found a purpose. I actually really enjoy being on site. I love that. Because once again, it's like what you said before, it's like that footy team. It's like you're on deployment and you're back in camp with the boys. You're up at 3 a.m, you're training, you're eating together, you're working all day. There's big things going on. Just the boom on the crane, the main crane is 100 meters long. It's a footy field. So that thing stands up. The boom on it's 100 meters long.
Yeah, wow.
Just phenomenal. And the logistics that these guys have shown you, if you think when the crane comes down, the first thing off that crane is the last thing back on. So it goes onto a truck. And it's how you line the trucks up, right? Because if it's the last thing on, but you park it where the first truck's got to go, you just fuck everything, right? And there's not a lot of roads on wind farms, right? Semi-trailers will reverse all the way back up. So they just taught me a whole different way of thinking. And you're talking to landowners, you're talking to politicians, you're talking to heads of companies, you're talking to investment people, I've found my niche again. I've found it. And the last couple of years of this job, the last 4 years, have just changed my life. As I said, a lot of people don't like renewable energy. I feel it's got a place, but this company looks after me. They give me days off, for anniversaries of the boys' deaths, remembrance days, Anzac days. They're just go and do what you need to do. When you're right to come back, which is a credit to them because they don't have to do that, But I've got this relationship with, my direct boss now, Owen and Anthony. I've got a relationship with them where I can ring and say, guys, I'm hurting. I just need to be at home for a bit, or I need a bit of time off. I just like to get away. And they're like, yeah, mate, do what you need to do, which is credit to them because I don't think they've ever come across anyone. I'm not saying I'm special or anything, but you know what it's like with the baggage that we carry. You know what it's like. And they give me the freedom of maneuver to do what I need to do to be right, to be at work. And I can't thank those two men enough.
Mate, sounds like a pretty good opportunity, for any veterans or anyone listening who's looking to change a career path, to find that new purpose and that new identity. Mate, if anyone wanted to get into, your space, I'm not sure if your company's hiring, or if you're looking for ex-military, or even just dads looking for a change, how would they get into that sector or that industry?
Mate, it's booming at the moment. The renewable energy sector is going off its head. So the construction management team that I've in, up until the beginning of this year, there was 4 of us. There's now 14 in the team, and we don't have enough people to do the jobs that we've got over the next few years. So we're always looking. So if there's a veteran who's getting out or is transitioning or is looking for a change in scenery, wants a different job, mate, I'm sure somewhere along the line you can put, mate, if they email you and you can email me. This is what another good thing about doing things like this is, I want to like help veterans. Like I got a lot of help, right? I was lucky to be surrounded by a great group of men and my brothers and my dad. It's now time to give back. And if I can help a veteran, mate, even if I can put him, if he wants to get into cranes, I've got the contacts to get him somewhere. Yeah, I can't promise anything, but I'll tell you what, I'll show them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And, you don't necessarily have to have that university degree. You just got to have a bit of, as we've probably said before, street smart, right? It's a bit of street smart. Be humble enough to know when you don't know something and just ask the questions, right? And, mate, I'll help out whoever we can. Like if there's a veteran struggling and they want to have a chat, let's do it, because I know what it's like to be in that position and lost. So let's do it. I'll just point you in the right direction. I'll show you what courses need to be done, and let's go.
Yeah, mate, I'll definitely make sure I put all that in the show notes.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to reach out and gets in touch with Simon, just reach out to me and I can directly connect you. Mate, I've got a final question for you. If we could go back 19 years ago to 21-year-old Simon on day one of fatherhood, what would you tell yourself on day one of fatherhood that you know to be true today?
Don't waste the time. I wasted too much time chasing stupid things overseas, when I could have spent that time with my daughter. Because what I read a thing the other day that kids idolize you for, 5 to 10 years. And after that, they've moved on to someone else. And I've lost that now with my daughter. And looking back, I've lost it for what? Yeah, don't waste the time. No job is ever worth missing that time.
Mate,
yeah,
probably Mate, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's I think one of the quotes is 80% of the time you ever spend with your kids is over by the time they reach 18 years old. And for a lot of the dads listening right now, do the quick maths of whatever age your kids are at and very quickly realize that you might be 30, 40, 50% of that total time. So don't waste a second, because before you know it,
100%, mate. And you also don't know when it can end. Like my daughter's, she's 19 now. She's 20 next year. She doesn't. I remember what I was like at 19. Mate, I'd already done a deployment by then. So I thought I knew the world, and she does as well. But she's an independent woman now. She doesn't, as much as it pains me to say this, she doesn't need me anymore. And I missed all that time when she was little. For what, really? Like some things up on the wall there behind me, a couple of photos.
Yeah.
But, I always thought I was doing those trips to make this country a better place. And I think it has, but it's slipping out of control again now. And, I always thought that our wars that we did that would be it. But it's looking more and more likely that, unfortunately, this next generation might have to step up, and it's a scary thing.
Mate, it is scary when you look around at this next generation, going through another 20-year period like that. It's fucking frightening.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And another thing too is find a good woman, someone that will support you through no matter what. Like, mate, I've seen, like, you've been with your wife for ages now, and, I've got some other mates that have been, married their long-term partners, and they're just a team. Like, find yourself a good woman, someone that loves you. I'm fortunate enough now that I've got that as well back in my life, and I don't think, once again, it's a phenomenal thing to have, that support of a good woman, someone that will back you to the hills no matter what, or to have enough confidence to tell me to pull my head in when I'm doing something stupid or I've got some crazy idea. If you find a good woman, like treat her right and lock it in, because you know what that's like, mate. Like when you've got, they've got that woman at home that backs you everything you've done. Like correct me if I'm wrong, but would you be in the position you're in without, your wife, mate? Like,
yeah, not a chance, mate. She is literally the rock of the family, and still to this day allows me to travel the world and chase my dreams, and holds down the family. And I'm completely in debt to her for her allowing me to do that, and likewise, I've also, she wanted to be a stay-at-home mum and raise the kids in the early years, and I've, by doing what her allowing me to do what I do has allowed her to do that. So it's sort of mutual, and it has worked out mutually beneficial.
Partnership though, isn't it? It's a team. Like it's, when you've got that support from someone, you'll conquer the world, and I love nothing more than seeing my friends succeed and watching them take on the world or take on businesses or travel the world or that. But, the key thing that I see to all of my close friends that are really succeeding is they've got a strong woman behind them. And, I'm fortunate enough now that I've found that. And the difference that makes in your life is just phenomenal. It's out of control.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Mate, to finish off the podcast, first and foremost, thanks a lot for your service, and mate, thanks a lot for taking your time to jump on here today. It's it's really freshening to get someone with such a real and raw, honest and emotional story, and openly willing to speak to it how it is and not sugarcoat everything like you see so much out there. Is there anything you've got coming up anytime soon that people can get involved in, or is there any shout outs to anyone that you want to do and mention for whatever it is out there?
No, the biggest thing is at the moment for me is just really concentrating on this family life. I just want to do well at work. I don't have anything big and major coming up. I'm just really focused on being the best partner I can be, and when my daughter ever needs it again, I suppose when she runs out of fuel or got no money left, she rings dad. But that, and just I'm just concentrating on trying to be the best mate I can be. Like I've let people down over the years, and now I'm in a better spot to repay that. That, and like I just want to help, like any veteran who's going through, like they're getting out and they're lost. You probably heard it spoken about a lot, like the post-traumatic stress disorder. I hate that it's called a disorder. I hate it. Like it's post-traumatic growth. Everyone goes through something hard in their life. Everyone, no matter what, it's hard. What they believe is hard, right? I'm not one to judge, but I'm not going to let my service define me going forward. Yeah, I have days where I struggle, but we've got to use that traumatic experience, turn it into a growth. We've all got an option to get to the crossroads. We can go left or right. You can let it consume you and just eat you alive, which, some people, unfortunately, that's what happens. But if you've got a good enough group of people around you, or someone that's been through it before and can guide you in the right path to get to achieve what I've achieved, like I'll help. Like that's what I really want to do a few more of this stuff, do some public speaking stuff, just to help to show that. And also, the veterans aren't tarnished. We aren't all psychos. Just because you've got PTSD doesn't mean you're a Fruit Loop. We've had a different set of experiences, and if you bring a veteran on board, they'll flourish. They'll make your company great. You'll have a loyal, hardworking person, and if I can help someone do that, then it's time for me to give back a little bit now. I think that's what I'd like to do, and however that comes up, I'm still not sure yet, but hopefully, it'll shine a light in the next year or so, and I can help out.
Mate, I've got a massive platform, so whenever you're ready, mate, let's get a few videos out there, and let's combine that military knowledge, that leadership skill set, and the journey through fatherhood, and let's change some lives and get it out there.
No, mate, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
No, Simon Jones, mate, thank you for jumping on the podcast, and we'll speak to you very soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks, mate. Bye.